Welcome, everyone, to the December 9th, 2019 meeting of the Delaware County Board of Commissioners. Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm Barb Lewis, President. To my left is our Vice President, Jeff Benton. To my right, fellow Commissioner Gary Merrill, our Administrator, Mike Fromer, and our clerk, Jennifer Walraven. We can begin.
Resolution number 19-1205, in the matter of approving the electronic record of proceedings from a regular meeting held December 2nd, 2019.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1205. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
We do not have any public comment today, so that brings us to item number 3, resolution number 19-1206, in the matter of approving purchase orders and now certificates and payments of warrants in batch number CM APR 1206 and memo transfers in batch number MT APR 1206.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1206. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1207, in the matter of approving travel expense requests.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1207. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1208, in the matter of approving right-of-way work permit summary sheet.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Vote on motion 19-1208. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1209, in the matter of approving amendment number 1 to the professional services agreement with M&A Architects for the renovation of the Bixby campus for county facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, John Melvin, Director of Facilities. M&A Architects have really completed the detailed design phase for the Bixby campus, including renovations to the existing building as well as the Sheriff Administration Building. This amendment is to add to their scope of work. They're referring to as experiential design phase. It's expand upon our branding and wayfinding and take that into the buildings, the entrances and into the building itself, and incorporate some different ways to identify the different offices out there in the buildings and actually showcase some of our different excitement about Delaware County. Sheriff's Office, way to do some of the branding out there, and then put some displays up for the story, the history and the story of the Sheriff's Office, as well as for the other offices and other buildings. So this is what this amendment is for on M&A's contract.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1209. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1210, in the matter of approving transfer of appropriations for the Board of Elections.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Anthony Sadie, Deputy Director, the Board of Elections. With the new voting equipment, there was a lot of seasonal help that we brought in order for acceptance testing, as well as in order to get the logic and accuracy testing, which we do before each election. Since we have more equipment than we have in the past and we're learning new processes, it takes some more staff in order to get it up and running in a timely manner, as well as we also our board also made the decision to include some extra seasonal staff for the vote center in order to get them prepared for the 2020 election. So with that new staffing and increased hours, we had to move some money, or we're asking to move some money in order to finish off the rest of the year for our payroll.
Okay. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1210. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1211, in the matter of declaring county personal property not needed for public use and authorizing the sale of personal property to Deputy Brian Blair on the occasion of his retirement.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jeff Balzer, Chief Deputy with the Delaware County Sheriff's Office. With me this morning is Deputy Brian Blair. Deputy Brian Blair will retire from the Sheriff's Office on December 31st of this year. Before you is a request to allow Brian to purchase a service weapon for $1. Brian has had a long and successful career in serving our country and community. Following more than 8 years in the U.S. Air Force Security Police, he became a local law enforcement officer. After serving with 2 other law enforcement agencies, Deputy Blair joined the Delaware County Sheriff's Office in 2000. During his career with the Sheriff's Office, he has served in many different roles, including as a deputy assigned to patrol, negotiator with the Delaware Tactical Unit, detective, and finally with court services. For the past 6 years, Deputy Blair has served and protected the citizens and staff who work and visit the Delaware County Juvenile Court. Deputy Blair has been devoted to his duties, and Sheriff Martin and I rest easy knowing that Brian is on duty. On behalf of Sheriff Martin, I wish to thank Brian for his exemplary service to the citizens of Delaware County and wish him a long, happy, and healthy retirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Brian, would you like to say anything?
I'm not a big speaker, I'm fine.
You just spoke.
Yeah,
Thank you for your service.
Yes.
yeah, thank you, and congratulations on retirement, and
Yes.
best in the future.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much for your service. Thank you very much. Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1211. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1212, in the matter of approving a lease amendment for secure storage facilities.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Good morning, Commissioners. This is the renewal, request a renewal for the lease for storage units for our property storage. There are 3 buildings, and it's a 1-year renewal with the hope that as we get at the end of 2020, our new facility may be closer or be completed at that time.
Do you foresee being able to do a month-to-month at the end of the year if that's not the case, or?
If we need to, yes, that's something we'd contact. The folks who rent those to us have been very good to work with, so that's something we'd look at then.
Okay, vote.
Vote on motion 19-1212. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Thank you, and I just had one other comment
Oh,
just to
yes.
share with you, that our booking construction is complete out at the jail. So we have got it finally all approved by the State Bureau of Adult Detention. We also had the Health Department and State Health Department in to approve our body scanner, so it's all up and running. So I would like to invite you when your schedules allow, please come out and visit. We'd like to give you a tour of our new booking area and how it helps us be a better facility to screen people coming in.
Oh, that's great.
Good. Glad
Yes,
to have
Could
that
I
wrapped up.
suggest that Sarah, who's
be there.
very good at this, coordinate something on our behalf?
yes. That'd be great.
Again, thank you for funding this important project for us.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Resolution number 19-1213, in the matter of appointing a member to the Delaware County Convention and Business Bureau.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
No Jane?
Vote. Are we?
Sarah, who's
Well,
doing it?
we have to hear who it might be.
Good morning, Sarah DeNovo, Assistant Clerk. We will be appointing Megan Canavan to the Delaware County Visitors and Conventions Bureau on the behalf of the unexpired term of Amy Tillinghast.
Okay, questions?
Just
Yeah.
comment, I thought Megan interviewed very, very well, and I think she'll be a great addition to the board.
She has a lot of really valuable experience in her role
Yep,
in Powell, too, and communications, and, yeah, she'll be a good board member. Thank you. Vote.
Vote on motion 19-1213. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution number 19-1214, in the matter of approving a transfer of appropriations, advance of funds, supplemental appropriations, and establishing new organizational fees.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
Morning, everybody. Brad Lutz, Director of Business Operations Financial Management. You have quite a list in front of you of transfers and advances and so forth. Each one of these has a story to tell. I'm going to tell the story of every single one of these. So if you need some coffee or anything, let me know. No. Honestly, this is fairly normal, get to the end of the year, need to get some monies transferred to get some balances, or get the balances to a point where we can pay people. As you can tell, if you look down through this, a vast majority of the transfers are moving monies from line items to compensation, benefit line items. There are a few where we're moving monies, say, from materials and supplies to capital expenditures or services and charges. So once again, this is just taking monies in this big first section all the way down to advance. And these are no new monies, just moving monies around, once again, mostly for compensation purposes. Looking down through that list, are there any that stick out to you that you have any questions about?
Any questions?
So I'll move on to the advances now. So with the advance, once again, this is fairly normal here. We're advancing money to ditch fund to make some initial payments. Of course, those monies will be advanced back as the real estate special assessments are collected.
Okay.
On the supplemental appropriations, so these are monies, new monies being appropriated to these budgets. CDBG, CSTP, and the watershed, actually, that would be related to the one above, are monies that are, and the one at the bottom, HSIP, are all monies that are being appropriated in special revenue funds or capital funds. So really nothing out of the ordinary there, unless you have any questions about those. But
I do have a question about one of them.
Okay.
I wish I'd have noticed this earlier, I did not. The Board of Elections, the equipment to purchase.
Well, I was going to hit the general fund one separate, I'm sorry.
Okay, I apologize. Go ahead.
You're fine, no, you're fine. So now in the general fund, we have three, and those are obviously a little bit more abnormal. I'll hit the treasurer's office one first. Frankly, we asked the treasurer's office to go into a little bit of detail as to why they may need a little bit of extra money towards the end of the year. Unfortunately, we don't really, I hate to put it this way, don't really have a good reason. In other words, we don't know how the budget was set up. John, unfortunately, with his passing, that knowledge went with him in terms of he set the budget, he put the numbers in. We don't know what assumptions he was making. We do know that there was some increase of expenditures related to the appointed person, that there was, that the interim treasurer was paid out of the general fund as opposed to the REA fund. So, I mean, these are small amounts though. But frankly, as a percentage of budget, the 21,000 here is a small number. Going into the next year, SI worked closely with the treasurer's office in completing their budget. So I would suspect that the budget that you will be ultimately approving for 2020 will be in line and shouldn't require this at the end of the year. The Board of Elections, that one is a big number, but that has to do with, frankly, it's accounting. So to your point, Gary, I think I know where you're going. Obviously, the money was moved to the capital fund, thinking that's where we're going to pay for the machines out of, but the monies were receipted into the general fund, and it's a question of just making sure that the monies are expended from the fund that the monies were.
Is this going to authorize payment, us doing this?
Well, the payments were already authorized per the contract, and the
But we
contract.
haven't made this payment yet.
We've made part of those.
We haven't made this 1.9 million payment yet.
We have not made all of these payments
The
yet.
reason I'm asking is I worked the polls, and we had a couple machines at our location that did not work properly. I guess I'd like to have some reassurance that those issues have been addressed, and if I'd have thought of it when he was here, I would
Yeah, I
have
was going to
thought
say, too many were away.
I would prefer that be pulled out of here till we have that conversation, and maybe he can come back on Thursday.
Here's the only thing. We did, per the contract, we were authorized to make a payment. So this wasn't the
There was
final.
a list of things that we had in August,
Yeah,
September, they were supposed to have done.
yeah.
And I spoke to the president of the company briefly when I went there night of the election, actually later. And I'd just like to have some reassurance that those recurring issues, we're talking about machines that are been used once or 0 times, and they're already having issues with. I'd just like to know that
Yeah,
we're not
I
paying
guess,
money.
but in the end, though, that's, in all fairness, that's where the contract comes into play. So the contract is dictating to us when we can make payments, like certain conditions must be met. in the contract. And I can tell you that Board of Elections are following those conditions before they're authorizing any payments to ensure that any issues and certifications and so on and so forth are met. The appropriation that we're doing today is strictly an accounting issue where we've already expended part of this 1.9, a significant part of it, out of the capital fund. We need to actually transfer those expenditures to the general fund along with the future payments come out of the general. The payments are already appropriated technically in the capital fund, so really it's just moving the appropriations to the general fund and once again relying on the contract to ensure that the company's holding up their end of the bargain, if you will.
Well, I guess that's what I'm asking. I want to make sure they're upholding their end of the bargain. And
And I am 100% confident in standing here and telling you that they are.
could I offer this suggestion? We're going to do an executive session. Could we call the Board of Elections, ask them to come back, and at least have those reassurances before we vote on this?
Sure, I have no issue doing that.
I think that makes
Are you
sense.
comfortable with that?
Yeah, that makes sense. I have share
Because
the
we have a
same
list of about
question.
10, 12 things, and no one's ever gotten back to us and said they've been addressed.
Sure,
And I guess I was expecting that at some point.
okay,
Having worked the polls, I know we had an issue with a couple machines, and I'm just illustrating this so when they come back, they'll be prepared to respond.
sure.
So,
Yeah, I'll probably have, just because obviously it's kind of hard to know when you'll be coming out, I'll probably have Anthony just write up,
I'd like for them to come.
Oh, okay,
Okay.
all right.
Right there he is.
Right
there
there's
he
Anthony.
is.
Hey, Anthony.
Talking about
Good
time.
timing. Yeah, oh, yeah.
No, actually, you're on the hot seat, sorry.
Anthony, your timing was perfect. Okay. What I had asked for, to you and maybe Carla come back after executive session, but since we caught you.
Sure.
The Board of Elections appropriations of 1.9 million, we had a list of about 10 things, 12 things, whatever it was. No one's ever come back and said those things have been addressed. I had a couple of experiences when I worked the polls, a couple that did not work, hadn't been used either zero or one time. I guess I just like reassurance that our vendor is taking care of these issues that we talked about.
Yes, I emailed Mike last week saying that the Board of Voting Machine Examiners approved a lot of the 2.1 software upgrade for all of the equipment, and those bullet points were addressed in that 2.1 software upgrade. So they're going to actually be in, I think, later this week to begin installing it on all 1,000 pieces of our equipment and get it up to speed. For a lot of the,
What about the issues with the equipment that I experienced at my polling location? Was that specific only to that location, or was that an issue throughout the county?
I apologize, Commissioner, I'm not,
We had two machines that did not, they wouldn't read the, when someone tried to vote, they would not read the,
the QR scanner, like you mean to bring up the ballot with the QR scanner? They're looking into that. I don't believe that that's something that would be in the 2.1, but we are looking into that issue right now. We're
well,
trying
it's
to
a
figure out.
concern, if we have machines that aren't working and they're new, how are they gonna work in a year or 2 years?
I
So
understand, yes.
I guess I'd like some level of assurance that, from the vendor, that those are gonna be taken care of.
Yes, the vendor was at our office. The actually president of the company that builds the equipment was at our office, so he saw firsthand the issues that we were experiencing on Election Day with those QR scanners. And so it is absolutely at the top of their priority list. And we had somebody in last week looking into it as well and seeing what the problem could be. We think it has to do with there's no like reflective surface underneath the scanner. So we're gonna start experimenting with some different things to bring up the ballot. There are other ways to bring up the ballot as well, so that's not a end-all be-all, but I understand the concern being it brand new and the QR scanner thing not working.
Is there, would you rather delay it until our next meeting?
Yeah, I think Commissioner Merrill's raising some good points. We'd like maybe a report on progress of the equipment, the software, et cetera, and then,
Like I said, the software is finalized and done. There is nothing that can be added to the software until 2021 at this point, considering they just went before the Board of Voting Machine Examiners. You know, like we saw at your location, that's not, I mean, that would have to have happened maybe a small percentage of the locations, but, it is something that we saw and escalated, but I don't know what a progress report, we're not going to really know any more until the next full-fledged election, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Is there a problem with delaying it as far as there is?
Till Thursday?
Till Thursday?
We've got payments in process per the contract. We have payments in process per
If
the
we can't,
contract.
if we can't hold something up, then what is our purpose here? I mean, we might as well,
Point.
I will say what I was going to say. So I think it's reasonable that we at least have the reassurances from the Board of Elections and have a little time to think about that. So I would suggest that that one item be pulled.
But the monies have already been appropriated in another fund. So in other words, frankly, if we didn't have to do this accounting change, the payments would go through regardless, because the monies have already been
Well,
appropriated.
but
So
we
this is
said
literally
back,
just-
we said back in May and June, we had a list of 10 or 12 things, and the board was going to get those things, and no one's ever come back and reported to us on the progress on those 10 or 12 items in this room.
Oh, in this room, yes.
So we, as three commissioners, have not heard how those were resolved.
They
And I think
have.
that was a reasonable expectation.
I apologize, I didn't realize that like I said, that list that we've come up with, those have all been addressed in the 2.1 software upgrade. And that was the third bullet point that was the third, what's the word I'm looking for? Holdout in the payments. There was the November election, the May election, as well as the 2.1, them getting certified. They were certified on Friday of last week, and they're coming to install it later this week.
Yeah, the punch list, which had those 10 items,
Yes.
was into that 2.1. I'm not aware of the issue at the polling location. That's,
Disadvantage of a commissioner working, I guess.
Yeah, we give you one of the hardest ones, so.
Can we hold the payments until there's discussion on this? I mean, I understand the appropriation needs to happen, but I think it's the,
Yeah, I'm just saying the payments are actually in process at the auditor's office right now. So in all fairness, I'm not entirely sure what it would take to.
Do you want to say anything, Si? The deputy auditor's here.
I think one was
He-
scheduled for Thursday.
Yeah, he said they could hold them.
I just don't know I'd be happy to help in any way. I don't know what you want to see for the next meeting. I don't know what I can bring to the table or what new developments may come up.
Yeah.
Like I said,
Maybe-
we're constantly talking with the vendors. I don't really know.
I think we just
What I can
need
do
a
to
little
help.
bit more, maybe, the opportunity to ask some questions. And so I think if we just move ahead, we'll tackle it on Thursday, and then we'll give you some more. We
Yeah,
can
I think
talk
it,
to Mike
I
and
think
give
there
you
needs
some
to
more
be
information.
discussion about the issue that was at Gary's polling location. But all the punch list items per the contract have been,
Yeah, the contract has been fulfilled, so what do I go back and tell the vendor at this point for delaying the payment?
The commissioner, at least this commissioner, had some concerns based on the equipment and how it worked at the last election, and would like some level of reassurance before we go forward.
Understood.
And I would second that. I think we need to understand that the issues we've had have been fixed, and until this morning, and we've heard it verbally, we haven't heard anything. So, the comprehensive list that Commissioner Merrill's talking about, plus the software list, we'd like to see, point by point, these have been addressed. Because, again, until this morning,
Yeah.
we weren't aware of whether they'd been addressed.
Yeah. So maybe some of this is just a repetition in which you've told some people, but we didn't absorb it yet, I guess.
I
That's the way
understood.
of
Do you
putting it.
want me to work and get on the next week's agenda then?
Thursday.
Thursday?
It's Thursday.
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
I'll,
You can work
you
with
and
Mike.
Carl, I'll call you guys and we can talk through, because I think we need to figure out specifically what happened at the polling location.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, thank you. Thanks.
More than just what happened, a reassurance is that it's been resolved and it's going to be resolved without some silly little way of doing it. It needs to be done in a very, we're paying big money for this equipment. It shouldn't be some little gerrymandering way of handling it. It should be handled very professionally. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because you talked about some sort of we could do this and we could put something under it or something. The machinery ought to work without some sort of silly resolution to the problem. And I just want to make sure I understand that before we move forward. So anyway, Thursday, and Mike will get with you.
Yeah,
Understood. Thank you. See
thank
then.
you. Thanks.
Then finally, the only items left on there are new organizational keys. So obviously, we could strike that one item, but I certainly recommend the rest for approval.
Okay, and we're pulling, so the resolution will read
Yes.
as the same except for pulling the Board of Elections machinery equipment.
Since the board has motioned the resolution, I need to remove the line by a resolution. So, resolution number 19-1215, in the matter of amending resolution 191214 as presented to remove the Board of Elections supplemental appropriation line for consideration.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion, vote.
Vote on motion, and again, this is voting on the amendment. Resolution number 191215. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Resolution, vote on motion 19124 as amended. Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. Thank you.
That
Thank
bring-
you, Brad.
That brings us to Administrator Fromer.
I have nothing to report.
Commissioner Benton?
Well, it's been a very busy week since we didn't meet last Thursday. A lot going on. We had Economic Development 411 presentation Friday morning at Ohio State, and that was interesting as always. DHL made a presentation on why they chose Westerville, and gave a shout out to our finance authority in Delaware County as partners in that process, and it's a very, very good employer, good business, et cetera, for locating here in Delaware County in the city of Westerville. And their team worked extremely well and got this thing landed. So very, very nice ad for Delaware County. Had MORPC Executive Committee last Thursday afternoon. One thing that they talked about, which is going to be on the agenda, I think, for this Thursday at the full commission meeting, was the Hyperloop. It put out an RFP for a fast track, test track, and Ohio is in the running at the TRC up near Marysville, and it would be a 6-mile Hyperloop test track. And so that could be really, really neat, nice, and then all the spin-off of the businesses related to that technology could be concentrated in central Ohio and in that area. So that's very encouraging, and it looks like we have a very good chance of landing that. The big event last week, obviously, was the CCAO Winter Conference. All three of us were there, and as always, a lot going on. Had a number of sessions, and I won't cover them all because I'm sure you'll want to add a few, but they're working on drainage reform, drainage petition reform, and that bill is moving through the legislature, and much needed. They're working on a new 911 system. That's a legislative priority. They're also OPERS, the OPERS director, pension director, made a presentation which was very interesting. OPERS, as currently actuarially evaluated, is underfunded, and they need to make some changes. And they're talking about some long-term changes, a whole bunch of different things that could be changed in the coming years to address that underfunding. So it was very good that they're addressing that, because obviously we want OPERS to be properly funded. Did the PIN clearinghouse on Sunday, yesterday, and that was very, very well done. I just continue to marvel at how well that's done and how smooth that thing operates. There were over 800 kids served in this event Sunday. Administrator Fromer was there, and 3 of us, and a whole bunch of other people. And it was, again, a very well done event, as always. We attended the EMA Citizen Aid Grant presentation last Monday, and Troy Balderson, of course, led that. and-
that's right, I
and,
forgot about
Sean Miller, yeah, I know, it's been, seems like it was,
Yeah,
seems
it's
like it
been
was
a
forever
week.
ago, but that was
Right,
last Wednesday, Monday afternoon. And very well done, very well received, and it'll, I think, help, they're gonna put the kits in emergency vehicles and schools and all sorts of locations where it should help our citizens if they're in an emergency and need that. Had a Corsa meeting, a board meeting on Wednesday, and that was nothing really new. It was kind of rehashing the conflict. And I think that'll move toward mediation, and hopefully that will resolve the conflict there. TID meeting tomorrow, or TID meeting Wednesday. Got the state capital budget reminder that those requests are due to Representatives Carfagna and Jordan, and then Senator Brenner by January 10th. So if you know of any local nonprofits or Fair Board, I know is looking at it, getting a capital fund request into the state capital budget by January 10th. Please encourage them to do that, because we have a very good story to tell, a lot of very good deserving agencies and nonprofits that could benefit from that funding. So that's it.
Yeah, frankly, you covered most as you.
I know,
this is
but we're
This
working
is
on the
very
same things
easy.
last week.
Brad Lutz and I attended the Hartford Fair annual dinner last Tuesday night. First time I had the opportunity to go, because generally there's been a conflict, or it's been out Longaberger and it's been so far away to get to, but it was well done, and I think we both benefited from that, and I think we learned a lot about that Hartford Fair, and it serves as northeastern part of our county, so that's the reason I think we get involved in that. Yeah, the convention I thought went really well. I think the mediation, of course, is going to be critical to getting us all back on the same lane. The DHL discussion, I particularly like that. It was the things that the Westerville had done and the coordination with the many of the things that we're also trying to do at the county level with other projects, but how they worked with the DHL to make it happen, and it was a very, very interesting hour and a half.
Yeah, a number of partners were involved in that. It's good demonstration of public-private partnerships working together.
Good.
And Penn was always a very, very good day when you go and you're involved in that, and I've been involved in a number of years, and I've always walked away feeling really good about our county. And the only thing else I have is congratulations to the Buckeyes on making the playoffs. That's all I have.
What were the Buckeyes ranked?
Number 2, I assumed you knew that. But,
Okay, I guess I did. Oklahoma made it, didn't they? What were they ranked?
well, I think they did.
Oh, gosh. Well, okay. People in Need was wonderful. The Holiday Clearinghouse last Sunday, as you mentioned, and Administrator Fromer had his wife and son, and then another family and their kids, and actually 2 relatives from Minnesota were there, and they were volunteering. So it's just the type of event that just warms your heart. It really is wonderful. So congratulations to Penn, and I cannot imagine if you've ever seen it. You've got to be there. You got to do it. It's superb. All the organization that is involved.
Year-long effort, hundreds of families are served by this.
Yes,
It's amazing.
hundreds.
It's not just a Sunday effort. It's all the time. We went in
That's-
Saturday, get everything set up.
Oh,
Expect
yeah.
Sunday goes smoothly.
Right.
Yeah.
And all the
Oh,
churches and organizations have donated to
For months.
provide the resources to make it happen on Saturday and Sunday. So-
right. Oh, and I do have one more thing. On Saturday morning, Caleb, who is, and I'm trying to think of what grade he's in, but anyway, he has, something like that.
Fourth grade, maybe?
Anyway, for the last couple years at least, he has decided to raise money for people in need. And so he has a hot chocolate and goodies event at his home, in his garage, and I can tell you after
something.
stuffing myself with the baked goods, that, and everyone just donates whatever they want to donate, but he actually raised, his goal was was, I believe it was $3,000, it was around that. He raised $3,200 and went directly to people in need. We are going to try and get Caleb to come to session so we can congratulate him. I did talk to his mother, Laura, who's just, his whole family's just wonderful. And so she was going to try and get him here on a special day in which he could leave school for just a little bit. So anyway, but that was wonderful, a lot of support. Powell Police were there, their Liberty Fire EMS, and I met some people from Powell City Council. There was an Orange trustee there, and so it was just a great event. Finally, I had something different to add. Anyway,
We take it all away from you, don't we?
That's right, yeah, that's okay, though, you,
One thing on CCAO, I forgot to mention, Cheryl Subler was named
Oh, that's right.
replace Suzanne Delaney, who's leaving in January. And congratulations to Cheryl. She's been there a number of years and will do a great
Yes.
job. So
yes,
Yeah, I think
CCAO,
it's been there, what, 12, 14 years, something like
Yeah.
that, I remember?
yeah.
yeah, she'll do a
Yeah.
nice job.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Cheryl.
Yes, yeah, she was, and congratulations to Suzanne, too, for a new opportunity she has. So we remain under good leadership there. Okay, we have need for executive session.
We do. Resolution number 19-1216, in the matter of adjourning into executive session for consideration of compensation of a public employer or public official for pending or imminent litigation and for collective bargaining.
So moved.
Second?
Discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1216. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye.
Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill?
Aye.
Now recessed into executive session.
Catching for signatures.
Resolution number 19-1217, in the matter of adjourning out of executive session.
So moved.
Second, discussion vote.
Vote on motion 19-1217. Mr. Benton?
Aye.
Mr. Merrill is absent. Mrs. Lewis?
Aye. We are now adjourned.